What you guys, got another video here for you. In this one we're going to be upgrading this computer with the Reven Justice CPU cooler. So we're going to be removing all the dust from here first. As you can see, there's quite a lot of dust inside this case and also on the filters, so I will be giving it a little bit of a blowout with the blower. And also we're going to be removing the radiator with the two fans on it here. This is the radiator. Also removing this pump here. So once we remove the closed loop wall cooling system, we're going to be replacing it with this Reven Justice cooler. Now this is a really good cooler. It's a 120mm fan on here, supports AMD and Intel Core i3, i5 and i7 ready, so you can use it on any of those CPUs. I've got the 2011 socket here, so this will fit lovely on this motherboard and CPU. And as you can see here, we've got the push-pull option available. So I've got another fan for the Reven Justice cooler, so I can do a push-pull. So we're going to be using the 120mm Coldwing 12 fan on our push-pull setup. Now if you're an overclocker, the Reven Justice is also great for overclocking as well. Now I'm also going to be replacing all the fans here with these ring fans from Sahara. These are the pirate ring fans, so I'm going to be replacing all of these inside this build. And these are pretty decent fans. You've seen me do a review of these fans before. Pretty decent, and they come with a remote control as well, and they are RGB sync fans. I've got the Reven Twila, which is basically a magnetic Aura RGB sync strip, which is magnetic as well, I think, or sticky tape, one of them two. And we're going to be possibly using that if it's not too much RGB overkill. But okay, so what we're going to do here now is get this outside and give it a blowout of dust before I start working on this system. So let's get it out and give it a good blowout and clean all of this dust. I will be replacing this GPU as well and putting a 1070 Ti inside here as well. So I'm going to move it outside and get it cleaned up. So it's a beautiful day and I've got the computer outside and I'm going to be using a blower. This is a mini little blower, as you can see here in my hand. I will leave this in the video description for you. It's a great blower for blowing out dust from computers, and as you can see here, it makes very light work of this sort of job. So what I'm going to do here is clean all of this out, clean all the fans and the radiator. You can see it's full of dust, and it does build up very quickly. As you can see here, massive amounts of dust coming out, and this will cause temperature issues and also cause other problems like overheating and also hardware failure eventually, because they can't breathe and they need cool air running through. And you can see the amount of dust build up in that radiator. So hopefully now we've cleaned all this up, what we can do is get this back on the bench and start stripping it down. So I'm just going to do the graphics card here, and I've also going to be doing the power supply and just blow it all out, and generally give it a good clean out with some isopropanol pads as well. You can see the dust coming out of the power supply there. So it just goes to show you how the dust does build up, and this has been cleaned pretty recently. The dust build up in these happen pretty fast. So you can see here the results. I've just give this a quick blowout here, and you can see it looks pretty clean. And what I'm going to do here is just use a couple of isopropanol pads and just clean off the top of the graphics card and some other areas. But you can see it's done a pretty good job. That fan on the radiator is nice and clean, and I will be selling this computer at some stage, so I want to make sure it's nice and clean for the new owner who buys it. Because I don't need too many builds. I've got so many as it is, and I just need to make room for some more new builds coming up. So you can see here what I'm going to do is remove the radiator, and this is just held in with a bunch of screws on top here, so I'll just remove these from the case here. You can use whatever you like. You can use a hand screwdriver or you can use a mechanical one, whatever you want to do really. These are only tiny screws. I'd advise you just to use a normal standard screwdriver. So here we go. I'm going to remove the bracket now. It's held on with 6 screws here, and we're going to remove these 6 screws, and then this will release the pump. So I've left 2 screws in top of the radiator so the radiator don't fall down, and I'll just remove these 6 screws from the pump. Now it's quite difficult to do this left-handed because I am right-handed, and I've also got the tripod with the camera in front of me, so it's not so easy to do this type of work with the camera tripod in front of you. So let me just quickly remove the rest of these screws here, and these are like thumb screws, so you never want to over tighten these because obviously you can do some damage if you over tighten them, and that's why I prefer to use a hand screwdriver, because you're not over tightening screws with a hand. You can actually feel it with your hand, where with the electrical screwdriver you sort of just over tighten things sometimes and they can shred the screws. So it's entirely up to you which way you do it, but I'm just going to remove these from this little bracket here, and you can see the pump is now starting to come loose, and we just need to disconnect the cables from the pump as well. So let me just get this pump off. There we go. So the pump has now been released, but there is cables attached to the board, so I'm just going to release those and unplug them, and then we can remove the pump there. So let me just move up to the top here. There's a couple of little cables here, so I'm going to unplug these. There we go. That's one for the pump, and you can see it's been jammed down here, so I'm just going to release this out. Okay, so now we just need to remove this last cable here, and this is for the fan, and there'll be one down the other side as well, so I'll probably need to go to the back of the computer here to unplug all these from the hub and put these back through those little rubber grommets there. So once these have all been unplugged, I can poke them back through the rubber grommets to the other side, so I can actually release the radiator and fans. So I'll just poke these all through here. There we go. Now normally with these cheaper type cases you will get these rubber grommets, and they do work loose sometimes, so this is the sort of bad side of having a cheaper type case. So let's go ahead and move on round to the other side, where we can remove the rest of the screws from the radiator. So you can see here there's two more screws which I deliberately left in so the radiator wouldn't fall down, and I'll just release these from here. Now again, when you're tightening these up or removing them, they're only tiny little screws, and if you do over tighten these, they will start to shred the thread in there. There we go, and that's now removed the radiator. You can see how clean that radiator is now that it's been blown out with that blower. I'll leave all the links in the video description for the stuff I used here. That blower is a very good blower if you want to clean out computers on a regular basis. So I'm just going to remove this bracket here from the computer itself, and there's some screws here that I need to remove also. Now the back plate on the 2011 socket doesn't need to be removed. That's actually a permanent fixture. You don't need back plates for 2011 sockets. Comes with one on it already, so I won't be needing the back plate for the new Reven Justice cooler. So I just need to remove these, and I'm going to keep all this stuff to one side and put it in a box so I can use it again another time. So all I need to do now is remove the compound from the CPU here, and you can use isopropanol pads or isopropanol on a cloth or something like that. It's entirely up to you. Just give it a good clean and make sure you remove every part of that compound from there. So I've got these little pads here. They've got isopropanol pre-pregnated into the pad itself, and they're nice and easy to use, and you can just discard them and throw them away once you've finished. Now this dries instantly, and it's safe to use on electrical components, and there we go. So all I need to do here now is remove the fans. So I'm going to remove all the fans from the case itself, and there's 4 to remove. One at the back, which is an exhaust fan, and also we've got 3 at the front. The reason why I'm removing these is because these were the early design fans which weren't the ring type, which didn't look quite as nice. So I'm going to replace those with the ring fans, which should give it a bit more of a stylish look and a better look for the RGB as well. So I'll remove these out. There's 4 screws on these, and I can now pull the cable through. I need to unplug it from the hub at the back, so I'll just detach it from the hub. There we go. So now we can just feed that through, and I've got 3 more on the front. Now these will be used in another project because they're still in pretty good condition. As long as I keep the hub with them, I can use these Sahara fans. So now I've got these released, I can put these to one side. I will keep them and reuse them. They've got that bullet nose front on them, so it does restrict what you can actually do with these. And also they have that ring round the outside, which means they can only go one way. But I'll probably use these on another project. So I'm just going to remove all the front fans, and of course once I've removed all those, I'll put the new ones in. Now this is a Sahara case, so the new fans will fit just in the same location. So what I'm going to do here now is put on the new hub. Now the new hub is for the addressable RGB, which is the old ones are not addressable RGB, but these are addressable RGB sync. So I'm going to put these on, and they come with a little sticky pad. Now as long as you keep these fans with the hub, they will work, okay? So if you're going to use these on another project, you will need to keep that hub with them other fans, otherwise they won't work. They're not interchangeable with other types and brands of fans, okay? So I'm just going to mount this just above the sticky pad there. There we go, and that's on there. And what I can now do is get these out the box and feed them through the front. Now again, I plan on selling this computer, so giving it a new lease of life with these RGB fans will make it look a little bit more modern. And of course these are really affordable fans from Sahara. And of course you've got that ring round the outside here, which gives you loads of different colours and loads of different sequences that you can run on these fans. And they do have pretty good airflow and keep the computer pretty cool. So there is the cable. All I need to do is put them at the front and put them into the hub, and that's it. I'm pretty much good to go from there. So we're just going to reverse the cycle really, and get these on the case. So I won't bore you to tears by putting all those in. I'm just going to feed this through, and I'll just put one on and I'll show you that basically, so it doesn't take too much of your time. So I'm just going to feed this through here. Now the messes of cables around the back here, this is because I had to change the power supply because the other power supply wouldn't fit in this case, and of course it was just a wadger cables because it was a non-modular power supply, which made it a bit messy. But I will have to try and do something with these cables because they do look a mess, and I won't ever sell it when it's looking like that. So I need to tidy it up at some stage, and hopefully I can do something about it without unplugging them all, because these are molded to the actual PSU itself. So basically that's it. Now we've got the fan round the front. I'll screw them on in a second, but I've just put all the cables through. Give them a little tidy up here as best I can, because this is a really limited for space down here. You can see I've had to tuck in all the cables and push them inside here because I had nowhere to put them. And so it does get a bit messy when you don't have a modular power supply, but that's about as good as I'm gonna get it for what I need it to do. It doesn't have a glass on this side, so they won't see it anyway, so that's as good as it's going to get from me in this video. So what I'll do is I'll get that flip round the other side, and I'll screw up the fans and get on to the next step. So I've got the fans all installed now, the back fan, which is the exhaust fan, and also I've got 3 in the front which I've put in. And where I've removed the radiator, there is those big honeycomb holes there. It does have the mesh covering on the top, but I didn't like the look of it, so I've just put in a couple of fans up the top. It might be a bit of RGB overkill, but we'll give it a go and see what it looks like. I'm going to be selling this anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I know it does help sell computers having RGB in your case, so just gives it another lease of life. Now we still need to put in our GPU here, and we also need to put in our cooler, and we're going to be using the Reven Justice for that. Now also, if you're not into closed loop water cooled systems and you want to still use air cooled, then give the Reven a look. They are pretty decent coolers, and the good thing using an air cooler over a closed loop water cooled system is they last forever, because all you need to do is replace the fan. You don't need to replace the whole cooler itself, you just replace the fans, and it's that simple. It's pretty cheap, and you can interchange the fans to whatever you like. They do all different sockets here. It comes with all the attachments, all the screws, all the fittings, Even the compound is included in here, so they give you just about everything you're going to need here. So the brackets are Intel and AMD. As you can see, you've got your user manual here as well, which helps you install your cooler, and you'll probably need it, but being a man, as you know, we don't look at instructions. We'll have a go at it blindfolded and see how we go, and if I need to look at the instructions, I will do at a later date. I'm just going to remove this from the box here and look at that cooler. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love the look of it. I love that yellow, and look at the fins on the fans there. There's a load of them on there, and you can have this as a push-pull, so I can add another one to the back and have it as a push-pull, so I get loads and loads of airflow through there, and hopefully keep the CPU cool. Now you can see here it's basically going to go in there and out the back, and then it will be extracted by the extractor fan there as well. So got plenty of extraction there going through to keep that CPU cool. You've got 6 pipes here to cool it down as well, 6 on each side, which is nice. And I do like the look of it. Now there's quite a few people that have used this design, and it seems to work very well. And you got the logo on top as well there. So that's what we've got to work with. I'm just going to get the other fan and hopefully be able to do push-pull here. I do like the setup for this. It looks pretty easy. The fan mechanism is pretty good, and also tighten it down is pretty easy as well. You've got these little catches on the side, and that's how you can just attach those, and they do give you those in the kit as well, which is always a nice feature to have, because obviously sometimes you have to buy a certain particular type of fan, but they give you these extra ones in case you do want to do a push-pull as well. And I've also got this fan here which I'm going to be using, which is the Coldwing 12, which comes from Reven as well, and I don't know whether it's the same type of fan. So this is the fan itself, and you can see it's slightly different here. Maybe it's not got the sticker on there, I'm not too sure, but we're going to give this a go anyway and get this onto the cooler itself. So I need those little brackets there, little plastic brackets, to hold it on, and we can get this attached. So this shouldn't take too long, because we don't need to do all the back plate or anything for the 2011 socket. So I'm just going to get those out and get those attached to the actual unit itself. It's very easy to do, and it's a nice size, this type of cooler, so it's not too big. And some of them nowadays have got huge. Now there should be arrows on here that tell you which way the airflow goes, and if you see the arrows, it will tell you the direction where the air will blow through, and it will go through and blow right through the cooler there. You can see the arrows on there, so it's marked on there, which is always nice to see for these fans. And I do like that vibrant yellow, so it's going to go that way through the fan itself. So I just need to make sure what way this direction's going, and you can see here it's going to go through and blow through the fins, and I just have to marry that up. It's pretty straightforward, and then put the little catches on. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up and get this ready. These just push into place. There we go, they're all on, and all I need to do is just push them through the little hole here like so, and then they clip on to the outside. A really simple installation mechanism there for these fans, so it's nothing too complex. Anyone can do this, just take your time. And I haven't even looked at the instructions manual yet. You can see that arrow there telling me which way the airflow is going to be blowing, so that's the direction you want to put it, so it blows through the actual cooler itself and then onto the other fan and then straight out the case. And there's the end result right here. It looks absolutely awesome, as you can see, and this should be pretty good to cool this chip down. So I'm just putting the thumb screws in onto the back plate here, very simple, and it comes with its own bracket, so I'm going to drop that on top, and I'm also going to put the little nuts that comes in the kit, and it has its own little spanner as well. So I'm just going to tighten these down with my fingers and then tighten them down with the spanner which comes in the kit. Very simple and easy to install. And this little bracket system here, just put it in the rotation you want it, and then you can tighten it down. Okay, Don't over tighten these, just give them a little tighten just to make sure everything is okay. There we go. And there we are. We're now ready to put the compound on, and the compound that you can get is in the kit. Now you can either use their compound or you can use another type of compound. It's entirely up to you, but it comes inside here, so you don't need to buy anything else. And there's quite a bit of compound in there, but this is quite a big chip. It's a 2011 socket, so the heat spreader on here is quite big. Now on our Discord channel, Panos was recommending the Grizzly Thermal, so I thought or Thermal Grizzly I should say, and Cryonut, and he said use this stuff, it's pretty good. And of course I did some research on it beforehand, and it was pretty good stuff. So after Panos suggested it, who's into his overclocking, I thought I'd give it a little go, and obviously install it on this setup to see how the temps are. Now there's probably nothing wrong with the Reven compound. I just went with this Thermal Grizzly because it was an option that I wanted to cover just to see how good it was, and it is probably one of the best on the market, so I wanted to give it a little go. It comes with its own little spreader here, and it's quite thick compound, so you may need to spread it out onto the actual CPU itself. So I won't bore you to death with spreading compound out. I'm just going to put that on already. There we go, we're ready to go. Now there's this little tiny bar here. You can see I've already added the compound here. There's a little bar that sits on the central part here. I've already put the screws in. You drop the screws in, it makes it a lot easier, and then sit it down like so, and then you can tighten them straight down like so. All you need to do then is put your screwdriver all the way through, and this was a tricky bit because I couldn't see the screw head, but basically once you go through there, just giving them a little tight up. Okay, now as you can see here, as with all these types of coolers, it gets in the way of the RAM. So what I'm going to do here is just unplug the fan here so I can get access to the RAM slot. Now this does have 8 RAM slots, so it will take quite a bit of space up, so probably just removing that temporarily so I can get access to the RAM slot. And there's 8 slots on here, so I'll just put the 8 sticks in. Make sure you get them in the right sequence, and this does have 64 gigs of RAM in it, I think it does. So I'm just going to put these in, and they're all match paired. So they're all in, as you can see here. All I need to do now is put in the graphics card, and once I've got the graphics card in, I can tighten this down with a couple of screws and put the power to the graphics card. So I'm just going to tighten those down now. Now this is nothing too fancy, it's just basically a workhorse that does a lot of work for me, so this is what I'm after. The RGB is just going to add it a bit of extra bling, but I will be selling this on eBay, and hopefully once this goes up I'll get myself another main system with another graphics card, probably an RTX or something like that. And you can see here I've just got a bit of cable management to go, and that's what it looks like in the dark. You can go through the color sequences, there's tons of them on here. I'll just flick through a couple of them so you can see. You can have solid color, you can have rainbow effects, you can have all sorts of stuff going on depending on what you want to do. You've got the remote control there as well, so pretty nice looking RGB. And there's ones up the top as well. Just give you a little look inside here so you can see here. Looks pretty nice. I don't think it's too bad. If you're into RGB, then obviously this is going to be right up your street. If you're not into RGB, then it's probably going to be RGB overkill. But hey, you know, once I get all this synced together, it should look pretty awesome. And I'm pretty sure the person that buys this is going to be stoked. And it's a pretty beefy machine. It does still today. It's a X99S motherboard MSI Gaming 7. Also i7 2011 socket CPU in there. Also got a decent GPU in there. Got a remote control for your RGB. So you can have whatever color scheme you like. So I'm just going to run some benchmarks here just to see what the temps are like and how they perform. So I'm just going to do this Eugene Valley. Let that run. And yeah, to be honest with you, I'm pretty impressed with the temps, especially for a cooler of this quality and this price. It's a pretty affordable cooler. and there's loads of them out there on the market, so do your research. But I'm just going to give you my personal opinion on what I think of it. I think it's pretty decent for the money, and I will leave all the links in the video description if you are interested. So let me just run this, and I'm going to do Prime 95 here. And Prime 95 basically is going to torture the CPU, and we should be able to see what sort of temps we get under full load. Now, you're probably never ever in your lifetime going to use the CPU to this intensity, so this is really extreme. But what I want to do is just to see how cool the CPU can stay under full load from Prime 95, and you can see here it's performing pretty well. I will zoom in so you can see that a little bit, but yeah, it performed pretty well. Here is the actual NZXT cam software as well, and you can see the temps are pretty good there. Not too bad. And you can see on there as well, on behind, you can see the cool temps that it's running at. So we're getting around about 58 to 60 Celsius temps on there on all the cores. As you can see, they sort of vary really, 57, 58 and 60. They go up and down, and now I left that running for a while, and the temps are pretty solid, which isn't too bad for Prime 95 running at full tilt on all the cores. So it's done a pretty good job, I think. So Reven Justice is a pretty decent cooler if you're after just keeping your system cool, or whether you want to overclock your CPU. This sort of cooler can handle all that sort of stuff, and it's a pretty decent bit of kit. Now I'll leave all the links in the video description if you're interested in any of the stuff that I've used in this video. Also, if you've got any video requests or any sort of content that you want to see me make, then let me know in the comment section below, or you can join us on Discord. It's free to join, and also you can join the community over there. We've got an awesome community which join in, and you can ask questions, you can also ask for help and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, my name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Thanks again for watching, guys, and thanks for your continued support. I shall see you again for another video real soon. Bye for now. Now, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the big red subscribe button on my YouTube channel and hit the bell notification button next to that to be notified when we upload new videos.